Even from the early age of man, ghosts were believed to exist. Spirits were mentioned in texts, as were demons. Even the Bible speaks of demons and spirits. Many times, in abandoned asylums and prisons, a baby or child can be heard laughing or crying throughout the empty, hollow building. Sometimes, children can be heard playing, running, and then dead silence. Many ghost hunters and other such people believe these are evil entities stuck between worlds. There seems to be very little out there more disturbing than the sound of a child in an area where life seems to be absent. A man, his wife, and their child were living happily in their home. The couple were both working hard in order to keep everything going smoothly. The child had only been born for a few months. The man had a troubled past where he felt abused, neglected, and used by his mother. His memories of his dark past felt like a cold and heavy, looming shadow. He questioned himself often, which caused him to spiral throughout a deep depression. The man often wondered what death would feel like, but often these thoughts were fleeting, where he had to try to be strong for his family. The depression of the man began to affect him strongly when his anger, his paternal grandmother, passed away. She passed away on Mother's Day, just to add salt to the wound. His father passed away when he was very young. He seemed to lose every close family member around the holidays. His father and daughter both passed away close to or on Thanksgiving Day. His great-grandfather passed away on Christmas. It seemed to the man that the only holiday that was not tainted was Halloween, the holiday especially for the dead. It seemed to be fitting to the man that this holiday should be his favorite. One day, the man's family was forced out of their home on a legal loophole discovered by the man's malicious mother. The man decided that this was the last straw, and he would never hold any faith, trust, nor care for this evil woman. The man believed in tolerance, taught to him by those who had passed away, but not this time. He knew what the woman planned to do, and he would not lose his only living child to this black-hearted woman. He found a way to move out of harm's way by changing his name and moving far away. A high school friend of the man's wife offered them help. It was their best option, but the man was still distraught that he was forced to chalk his entire family and life up for dead, since the mother was a master at lying to people, using people, and getting away with it. The mother forced the man into such deep depression that it was growing and becoming its own entity. She forced them out of their home. The friend took them in to their home, which was rather small, and back into the forest. Upon arriving at their new home, the man felt like the horrific events were still creeping around in his skull, even to the point that the entirety of the man's body felt like it was half asleep. He finally gave in to his depression and tried to do nothing but eat his problems away. In just a matter of weeks, the man had gained 20 to 30 pounds. Nobody knew for sure. The more the mother pushed on her end, the more the man felt his body aching with what felt like electricity, cold water, and a fiery sensation throughout his chest. These feelings pulsed upward through his head and down through every section of his body. The pain became so bad that he seriously considered the worst for himself: suicide. Months passed at this little house, the strange little house that was filled with a strong odor that often made the man sick, but nobody else seemed to be bothered by it. The house was home to a toddler, his mother, the grandmother to the toddler, the man, the wife, and the baby. The man often heard strange sounds, like someone in the house. There were dogs in the house as well, but their barking was often inconsistent. The dogs would bark at anything but the strange sounds in the house. When the man was so close that he would stand in the middle of the forest and yell at the thought of his mother when nobody could be disturbed, he realized he had lost hope. The darkness of the night rolled over the land for what the man hoped to be his last day on earth. He talked to his wife. She gave him his final hope and strength to carry on. Upon the sunrise of his dark and sleepless night came the familiar sounds of the indoor dogs barking at nothing. The dog awoke the man's child, in which he began to cry. Across the hallway, an older man's room, came the sound of another child crying. The man couldn't tell if it was the other child in the house. But after some time passed, the man realized the mysterious child's cries sounded nothing like any of the children in the house. Moments after, the sound ceased. The man had to take care of his child, so he soon forgot the mystery child crying just 8 or 9 feet away. Later in the day, the man's depression started to get at him again. He began to eat ice cream, one bowl after another. The man consumed enough ice cream that he barely had any room when dinner was prepared later that day. The wife showed the man compassion by letting him have some peace and quiet to himself, but talked to him enough to keep the man's willpower strong. After nightfall, the friend from high school showed them her new camera. The man found something to be excited about, so he asked if he could test the new camera out. The friend from school was thrilled that the man had found something to be happy about. "Sure," said the woman. "What do you plan to do?" The man responded with his ideas to check low light areas. His son was in bed, and with the lights out, he found it to be an ideal start. He made some adjustments to the camera to get the best quality, and soon, the camera flashed. He took a couple more pictures, but he realized that his baby wasn't sleeping well. The man, his wife, and their child couldn't sleep well in this house, even from the first day. "Let's see how they turned out," said the friend. They removed the SD card and put it in the laptop to view the pictures. They found the pictures, but upon seeing the pictures, everyone froze. The only visible thing on all of the pictures was a figure. The figure was in different locations in all of the pictures. The figure looked like the side of a dog's head, but the dog was deformed in some way. The only thing this dark figure showed was its long, sharp teeth. At least 5 were visible, and the figure's eye. Zooming in to see the picture better led us straight to the creature's eye, which was bright, cold, and piercing. At first, everyone thought it was a play on lights, but the rest of the pictures taken let everyone know that the figure was moving. The father jumped off the couch to rush and check on his child. Before he reached the bedroom door, he heard the baby crying. He quickly flipped the light on to realize the crying wasn't coming from his child, but coming from the corner of the room overlooking his child's crib. An echo, the man hoped. But about that time, his child began to cry. This sent an icy chill throughout the man's body. But he still wasn't the only one having chills, as even the dogs didn't bark at this commotion. They cowered next to their favorite person, the mother of the high school friend. The man felt so uneasy that he panicked. The man put his hands together as if he was to say a prayer, but his index fingers remained erect. He felt his hands getting warm as he mumbled something that even he couldn't understand. The man remembered what he said, but didn't understand what it was. "On Bai Sha Ra Man Ta Ya Sawaka," which he then repeated 3 times. His hands were hot, but he began to write a cross in the air toward the area where the crying was. He was thinking of the Bible and The Exorcist movie when he created the 3 crosses. It was like he was possessed by some entity trying to battle the other entity. The crying ceased. The baby quit crying and went back to sleep. The man looked over his shoulder to see everyone looking at the man in disbelief for what he had done. But they also had the sickening expression of fear on their face as well. It wasn't long before he received some news that he was going to be moving across the country to a new home. The man slowly crawled out of his depression. Before he left, he asked if he could have a copy of the dark photos that made everyone uneasy for so long. But the computer they were on crashed, deleting the pictures along with it. 5 months later, the man was living in the warm Texas air. He went for a walk around a nearby park where the warmth of the summer remained there even though it was December. He began to reflect on the series of events that had passed. Everyone had moved out of the house with the evil entity residing in it. He had begun a whole new life with his family. The man had decided to go back to school. He had lost the 20 or so pounds that his depression had put on him. The image remained burned into the man's mind, but with this depression completely cured, he looked up to the sky, thinking of what a bright future laid ahead of him. The clouds were rolling by in various shapes, rabbits, trains, and even what appeared to be a dragon. He gazed at this cloud for quite some time. The teeth on the dragon's face began to blow away from the cloud to resemble what was on the picture. A familiar cold chill rolled over his body. He stared in panic at this cloud. The wind began to change, and the old dragon reappeared. He gazed at the cloud, hoping to calm himself down. A whisper could be heard in the man's head. "Shurka," the man heard, which was the last thing he heard as he stood up from the bench that he had been sitting on. A cool breeze blew over the man's face, which caused him to realize that he had a single tear rolling down his cheek. He immediately felt a calm roll through his being. Depression conquered, a demon conquered, and a new life gave the man a new idea. Perhaps this demon was my depression, but what happened back in the old house? I knew another language for a short time. My hands felt like fire, and religious artifacts kept coming to mind. I'm happy now, but I know that I should never let the demon of depression lay its icy hand on me again, or sink its teeth in me, as that is what the demon looked like.